This one belief was costing him over $20,000 per year. In today's video, I'm going to show you what happened when an accountant invested in healing and belief work instead of the grind and new strategies for a year. So here's the sentence that ran his life underneath. If I say the wrong thing, I will be exposed. The crazy part about this is if you looked at him on surface, you wouldn't even see this belief existed for him. He was a guy in his mid-20s living in a nice place like Austin, Texas, building his accounting career, looking socially charismatic, having a decent group of friends. But as a result of this belief, instead of meeting new people, he would stay at home. Instead of being authentic in social situations, he felt a need to perform or fit into a box and felt like he wore a mask in social situations. And he never really asked for what he was truly worth. He relied on his skills to almost do the talking for him and get a promotion as a result of that, instead of truly advocating for himself. But 12 months later, this belief was gone, and here is what replaced it. He got a 20% raise in the company that he was working for. It was the biggest raise in his company, only limited by the politics and also the limitations of what the company was working with. And he also stopped going to bars and clubs for 100 days that he used to need to regulate his nervous system. And he also found himself being able to find social opportunities elsewhere. And he actually spoke to 339 new people instead of being stuck in his head and wondering what to say. Again, this is the same man, the same work ethic, but now he had a different operating system, and that operating system that he created in his mind was bearing fruit in his relationships, in his social freedom, and in his career. So the problem that he came to me with is something that I call the high performers limbo. This is when life looks good on paper, but you have a feeling that something underneath is missing, that you could be someone so much more, but nothing is wrong enough to fix, so you don't have a level of urgency to fix it. And when I'm telling you his story here, my goal isn't to give you a motivational story. That's not what I'm about. I'm going to walk you through the actual system Mr. M ran for a year, the same 3 steps that I use with every client, and I'm going to show you his real data because we built ActualizeOS, our own tracking and gamification system, to make belief work measurable and tangible. So you don't have to believe anything I tell you, you actually get to see it. When we first started, just like many guys in the high performers limbo, Mr. M wasn't in crisis mode. Yeah, he was working 60 to 65 hours per week and feeling stress underneath, and he had friends who'd moved out of the city, who'd moved out of Austin, so he felt a little bit lonely. And yeah, he used nightlife, bars and clubs to feel less alone at night, even though he knew his well-being would take a hit for a day or a couple of days afterwards. And in his intro post, actually I'll get to that later, because what I want to say before is he was also trained as an engineer before becoming an accountant, right? So whenever he did any type of work, he wanted to understand the full system before committing. So I remember when I spoke to him the first time, he really wanted to know the nitty-gritty details of the DDA system, but once I broke it down for him and he started seeing some of the impact of this system in his own life, he was all in, right? He was one of the most dedicated men I've ever worked with, not someone who was looking for a hack or a quick fix. This was a man who had a long-term vision and ran a process for a whole year. So when you're looking at this case study, I don't want you to give all the credit to me. I also want you to credit the man that he was in the way that he took action, because this wasn't all me. And a lot of this was based on his own efforts. So we worked on many core beliefs over the year, but again, the big belief that held him back was if I say the wrong thing, I'll be exposed, which may not sound like a lot, but this is again why he couldn't relax around his friends and he felt like there was a need to perform, or he had a voice in his head that said, don't draw attention, don't ask for the promotion, don't push people, don't take leadership. And this was taxing his ability to move forward in his career, but most importantly, his self-esteem, knowing that he could be so much more, but not actually fulfilling that potential. And in his intro post, what he said was this from the beginning. He said, I want to understand, love, and accept all parts of myself, including my dark phases. I want to clearly express my desires, boundaries, and emotions. And I want to be my own leader. He didn't want a new personality. He wanted a devolved version of himself. So obviously, we ran through this process using our trademark framework, the RDT loop. The first step was regulation, right? You cannot do belief work if you're operating from the threat system or the drive system, and you don't have consistent access to your soothing system. So the foundation was a daily meditation practice we call TWIM, Tranquil Wisdom Insight Meditation, and stillness. What's funny is, as a result of this, he decided to stop going out and engaging in nightlife. I never pushed him around this. So this is again where when you spend time in states of self-compassion, love, metta, karuna, all of these things, then naturally you start engaging more and more in decisions that prioritize your well-being rather than chasing an emotional high. And as a result of this, he spent 100 days away from bars and clubs to let his brain rewire from the feeling that he needed them. And what he said was, hey, after this experiment, I realized nightlife can just be watching the stars, gazing out on the bridge, seeing the lights of the city, relaxing by the pool, just as peaceful as the day-to-day life. This is the speech of a regulated nervous system. A man who stopped needing noise to feel okay, right? So that was the regulate portion. Then the debug portion was around the core belief. If I say the wrong thing, I'll be exposed. And the symptoms of holding on to this belief was not speaking up at meetings, performing in social situations, instead of being his authentic self. What we did around this belief was first recognizing this was a false belief that he took on from the outside world, which is what we call an introject, right? So he took this on earlier on in life and carried it for years as if it was a fact about the person that he was. So we didn't try to fight it. We didn't try to argue with it, build a case against it. We found the original source and we knew when it was installed and we just gave it back, right? And once Mr. M handed this back, the grip on this belief loosened, and instead now he could run a cleaner belief system with more clean fuel in his day-to-day life. Again, I can't share too many details there because they're private client details and I don't want to share that. The last part of the RDT loop is track. During the year, he submitted 80 daily reports. And if you look at that number, that's almost like 20% of filling in the reports. But again, different people get different ways of value inside the system that we built. So I'm completely fine with that. And within those numbers, we've seen 7.3 hours of meditation and 339 social opportunities. So the reason that we track everything in ActualizeOS is to not be perfect, but it's to have data so that he can look at the data and say, oh, I am actually doing better in my day-to-day life. And if we project his best week onto the next year, which happens a lot with the clients that I work with, that actually leads to over 1,800 social opportunities, more than 100 hours of meditation, right? So tracking your numbers is the difference between feeling like you're changing versus seeing it in front of your own eyes. So here's how he actually described his belief system upgrade from an insight post. And again, you already know this belief work is what led to him getting a big raise in his company as well. So what he said was, I think now I understand what Egget means by running life effortlessly based on my experiences with automating tasks at work. Automate or reprogram or create a new program that does what you want it to do, so you no longer have to do the manual things all the time as much or anymore. This involves editing or ditching programs that aren't helpful or cause other issues in life you may or you may not be aware of. So he found a similarity between the work he's doing and how we automate the belief system. You can let it sit in the background that subconsciously operate your body, mind, thoughts, or emotions, mind objects, and let it reap in the outcomes you want with minimal effort. It helps to know the manual things, processes in the beginning for your understanding and to be able to automate things based on the knowledge that you have so you don't potentially cause issues. But that doesn't mean you have to keep doing the manual work forever. Incredible insight, right? By reprogramming, you save a ton of time, energy, and see same, if not more precise and accurate outcomes you might not expect at high volumes consistently. So to him, he said, I don't have this in the screenshot, but he said it's almost like when you have all these shadow issues, it's like eating junk food. And when you optimize your belief system, what happens is you are now using a clean source of fuel, right? And one thing I want to highlight here as well is part of his career transition happened as a result of the community that we built inside data-driven actualization. He reached out to someone in our community who is a CFO at a pretty big company, and he was the person who led Mr. M to eventually pursue a career in accounting and show him exactly how it's done, right? Also, his social life had a big improvement. So again, belief system, using the community, changing the social life. Now, what happened when he had cleaner beliefs around his social life was he was able to take opportunities because now he was more relaxed. He was not caught up in loops that his mind was running, right? But because he was able to see reality more for what it is, he also became better at catching red flags or building connection with the right people instead of getting caught up in strategic games and social situations. So the man who was originally terrified of saying the wrong thing when he first started this journey was now meeting almost one new person a day without having to go out to nightclubs or the bars, just in day-to-day life. What I want you to take away from Mr. M's story is this. When he realized there was a problem, he didn't try to fix it with a new strategy. He didn't try to just say, I'm going to grind harder and make this happen. Now, the problem a lot of guys make is they treat inner work as a skill that they will get to one day. Almost like a soft skill. Like if you wanted to learn how to DJ, you might say, oh, I'm going to learn how to DJ one day. However, doing precise, measurable, and gamified inner work is one of the highest ROI work you can do, because any belief that you hold affects every single second of every single day of your life. So if you change it, your experience of life becomes different for the rest of your life. And Mr. M realized that and made the commitments and saw the fruits of that commitment. We changed his belief system, his income changed, his friendships changed, his ability to regulate his nervous system changed, right? And this year of change actually started with the RDT Loop, which at a high level is regulate your nervous system with a meditation, debug one story or one mental bug per day, and track your data in ActualizeOS daily. So if you're interested in having a similar change in your life, you don't have to commit to a year. You can actually test it out using our 30-day U 2.0 accelerated program, which allows you to hit certain criteria, and as a result, you can credit that into a year-long membership. So if you want to do this, or if you even want to chat about this, you're curious, go to the link in the description below, calendly.com, data-driven actualization U2, and this is where we can talk about how this plan looks like for you for 30 days. Now, if you resonate with this, but you don't know which beliefs are running your life, just like the one Mr. M discovered working together, then start with the free MindOS archetype diagnostic, also linked in the description. It's 3 minutes, it names the core belief to begin with, and it'll show you exactly how to rewire that belief for free in the next 7 days. If you enjoy this, drop a comment and tell me what you found the most useful from this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.